Hi, this is Chris from My Yarning Circle, and today's tutorial is about how to cast off or bind off. It is part of my beginning knitting series. I have made a video on how to cast on or do a long tail cast on, how to do the knit stitch, the purl stitch, and this is the cast off or bind off. Bind off is originally was used a lot in America, and cast off was more popular in the UK. But with today's technology and the internet, we use them interchangeably. So to cast off, I've knitted my nice little swatch, okay, and now I'm ready to be done. I need to take it off the needles. I can't take it off the needles without finishing the edge or it'll unravel. So we are going to start with 2 knits. This is a knit stitch, so I'm going to knit 1, knit 2. I have 2 stitches now on my right hand needle. I'm going to remove 1. I'm going to take the first stitch we knitted, lift it up, stretch it just a tiny bit, lift it up and over the second stitch. I'm going to knit another stitch. I have 2 on my right hand needle. I'm going to lift it up and pull it over. I'm going to do another one, then I'll show you. All right, then I'm going to do another one, knit 1. I have 2 on my right hand needle. I'm going to lift it up. I'm stretching it just a tiny bit, not a lot, just a tiny bit. And this helps me keep a little bit of tension so that I can pull back so it doesn't slide off with the stitch. I don't want to be doing things too tight. I want to be doing things in a relaxed manner, just the same gauge in which I knitted the swatch. So here's the top edge of it. You will see it looks like a little chainette on the top. And we're going to continue working our way across. We're trying to maintain the same gauge as which we knitted. So in this swatch here, I was about 4.5 to 5 stitches per inch. So I want my cast off to be the same. I want it to lay flat. I don't want to be pulling tight and pucker it in. I want it to kind of lay in the same gauge as my knitting. So, and if you're doing it continental, doing the same thing. Switch for continental. I got 1 stitch on my right hand. I knit 1. Now when I do a continental, my yarn is pulling this last stitch this way. So what I have a tendency to do, I stretched it a little bit. I have a tendency to take my finger from my right hand and I put it against the yarn to pull it back to help hold this stitch that I don't want falling off from going too close to the tips. I'm going to knit again, getting ready to pull off. I stretch it. This yarn is attached to that first stitch, so I can pull back a little bit on it. It keeps it from falling off. Okay, so now some patterns will tell you to bind off in pattern. And that just means follow the pattern of which you're doing. Okay, working your stitches. So next one is a knit, as I can see. So I'm going to knit, pull forward, and bind off. But now this next 2 stitches, they are purls. So I'm going to bring my needle in front because I'm binding off in pattern. I want to stay in the same pattern. I'm going to purl. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the first stitch I worked and knit it up and over. And see, I just barely tightened it down. Like I always say, kiss the baby, don't choke the husband. You want to take out the slop, but you don't want to make it tight. See how I made it nice and loose? Pull it out. Then I can just pull it up and snug it up just a little bit. Now I'm back to my knits. And I can go back over, and now I'm going to go back to knit. Pull. Knit. See how it's kind of loose? This one's kind of loose. But when I pull this, it tightens up that one that I did before. So you're always moving that yarn a little bit. Now I'm back to a purl. Now I'm going to do the last couple on continental. So I'm going to do a purl. Okay, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to stretch it, pull it over. Purl. Pick it up, stretch it, pull it over. Now I'm doing knits. I got 2 knits. So I'm going to do a knit. Pick it up, pull it over. Knit, pick it up, pull it over, back to a purl, and one more purl. So now we've bound off all our stitches except for this last one. Okay, everybody's bound off. It's laying pretty flat. See how my cast off edge is about the same as my cast on edge. And now I'm going to make this loop big. Okay, so to lock it in place, you can take, well, there's a couple different ways, and there's different techniques to help tighten this edge up, but usually a lot of times this is on something that's going to get picked up later, or a seam or something. But I make the loop big so I don't worry about it falling out, and then I pull my tail through it, kind of like noose it, and noose it up, and now everything's locked into place. See how it's laying kind of flat? It's not bunching in, it's not pulling in like this because I made it too tight. The bind off stitches are pretty consistent, and that is how you bind off or cast off your work. Happy knitting!